Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Zishan and you're watching English with Z. Now, in the previous video, we went over the marking scheme for paper 1, that's the reading paper for English 1123 from examinations from 2024, and we covered the comprehension, right? So that's section 1 of the paper. And now we'll be covering section B. Okay, so section B is for the summary. And again, right, the purpose is for candidates to understand how they'll be graded and thereby getting to know how exactly they should be attempting the question so as to score the best possible marks. All right, so this is the specimen paper for 2024 as published by Cambridge. And here's the text, right? The one that will be used for writing a summary. Here is the question, right? Summarize the text. Uh, what would appeal most to guests about a stay at the Tree Hotel? Continuous writing meaning not note form as is given, right? So no bullet points or markers or anything like that. Use your own words where appropriate. Avoid copying long section of text. Your summary should be 150 to 180. Cambridge has revised this. It is now no longer than 150 words, so keep that in mind. And the criteria, up to 10 marks are available for the content of your answer and up to 10 marks for the quality of your writing, right? So first of all, the content of your answer, meaning the content points. So you have 10 marks to gain if you give 10 valid content points as expected. All right. And the rest of 10 are for the quality of the writing. So the using of your own words, not copying long sections of text, and the proper grammar and vocabulary and punctuation and sentence structure and the whole shebang, right? And all of that comes up to a total of 20. So let's take a look at the marking scheme. Now, the assessment objectives are to demonstrate an understanding of explicit meanings and to select and use information for specific purposes. Makes sense, you're writing a summary. The writing objectives are to organize and structure ideas and opinions for deliberate effect, right? So you're not just going to take content points and copy paste them as they are. You're going to organize them in, right? Maybe you have to move content points around something that was mentioned later on in the text. You have to bring it first because it makes more sense that way, right? Use a range of vocabulary and sentence structures appropriate to context, meaning what the text is about. And so using vocabulary and sentence structures that suits that the atmosphere or the mood of the text. Okay, so here's a repeat of the question. Maximum marks awarded at 20. And here we have the indicative reading content, right? So these are the content points that candidates are expected to pick out from the text. And you can see that there are 13 given, even though 10 are expected. That means candidates have some breathing space. If they get one wrong, they write more than 10, they write 11, maybe 12. And if one of those are wrong, you still have a chance to score the full 10 marks. But keep in mind that you will not gain more than 10, right? So 10 is the maximum you can gain for content points. So here it is. And then, right, the level descriptors. So the generic level descriptors, remember, uh, you get level 0, right? Obviously no credible content, so no marks. Level 1, 1 to 2 marks. Some ideas refer to limited evidence of selection. And you can see, right, 3 to 4 marks. So it's not just uh, you writing 10 valid content points, right? It's to show that you have purposefully selected this content point from the text to include in your summary. Some relevant ideas used may include indiscriminate selection, right? So you're just randomly picking things, and obviously they're not the ones expected. They don't make sense, they're not relevant, and so obviously not going to score marks. Level 3, 5 to 6 marks, a range of relevant ideas, basically meaning you got 5 to 6 relevant ideas because those are the marks you're going to get. And right, relevant ideas selected may include excess material, obviously, right? That's why you're only getting 5 to 6 marks. Level 4, 7 to 8, a good range of relevant ideas. Ideas are carefully selected and used, meaning you're getting more precise. And level 5, 9 to 10 marks, wide range of relevant ideas. Basically, you got them all right. Ideas are skillfully selected and used. Yes, you got them all spot on the mark, right? Target achieved. And right, so that's all very good. Now, coming to the writing, how are you going to put that on paper? Well, again, if there's no credible content, you haven't written anything, or you've written utter gibberish, well, right, no credible content, so 0 marks. Level 1, 1 to 2 marks. The response lacks clarity. There is occasional use of own words, meaning maybe like after every 3 lines, maybe you've used your own word or something, right? So basically, it's just copy paste. And there may be long explanations, or the response may be brief. So either way, either you've written too much and it's not relevant, or you've written too little, right? Level 2, 3 to 4 marks, relevant response that can be generally followed, right? So it makes sense to a certain extent, to a certain degree. They are areas of the response expressed in the candidate's own words and or structure, right? So the candidate is making some effort, but it's, you know, really not something to be credited all that much, right? There is some effort, so yeah, 3 to 4 marks. Level 3, 5 to 6 marks, a relevant response that is generally expressed clearly. There is some evidence of organization. The response is mainly in the candidate's own words, where appropriate. Right now, they mention where appropriate because there may be certain parts of the text or certain terminologies or vocabulary used which the candidate may not be able to rephrase in own words, or perhaps Cambridge doesn't even expect the candidate to do that. So, right, responses mainly, so there are parts that have been taken from the text, but that's fine, right? So you're in the mid range, 5 to 6 marks. There is some organization, so that's good. 7 to 8, so you're almost there. A relevant response that is expressed clearly with some areas of concision. The response is organized. Okay, so it's good. It's what's expected, right? The response is the candidate's own words where appropriate, right? So it's not mainly own words. It is own words as expected where appropriate, right? So this is like the good range, right? Now going up like that, that's like you've mastered it. You're like a pro and expert in this. You really know what you're doing. Level 5, 9 to 10 marks, a relevant response that is expressed clearly, fluently, and mostly with concision, right? So you've really summarized it. You've really made it concise, concision, right? It is well organized, so they really like it. You've done a really good job. The response is the candidate's own words and or structures where appropriate, with a range of vocabulary which clarifies meaning, right? So it's not just own words, the vocabulary that you've used is also very nice, right? So it's a job well done, and you're going to get, right, the highest possible marks achievable in this section. And so that's 10 and 10, okay, and a total of 20. Now there is a 5 mark question that follows, and in the specimen they've given it as an interview style question where you are expected to give your opinion about a topics, right? So some local people think, I mean, it's obviously referring to the text, and right, it's available right in the insert over here. So some people think that your tree hotel might have a negative effect on our forest environment, right? So this is someone interviewing the owner of the hotel, and then they're asking you what is your opinion and why, right? So you're going to assume that you're the owner and give a response. So what kind of response is expected, right? Let's see the marking scheme. Uh, the assessment objective over here is to demonstrate understanding of implicit meanings and attitude. So that's R2. Here is the question again, a total of 5 marks, and the indicative content, right? So responses might use any of the following ideas. The owner believes the tree hotel will not have a negative effect, right? So this is hinted towards from the question. So obviously you're the owner, you've done all of this, there's an entire written piece about it, and then the interviewer goes and says, well, it might have a negative effect. So obviously you're going to say, yeah, I know it's going to have a negative effect, I'm going to do it anyway. Obviously not. So you're going to say, well, no, it's not going to have a negative effect. In fact, it's going to be really good. And then you right take pieces of evidence from the text to support that stance. And right, so they're listed over here, and Cambridge has given 6 of them, right? So 5 are expected, 6 are given the marking scheme. So again, there is a breathing room for the candidates as far as the response is concerned. And how to, so it's not just right giving that point, but developing it, right? For example, land was bought from someone planning to use it for logging, so the trees were going to be cut down. So we bought that land and we used to make it a hotel with the trees still there. So that's positive. And then developing that point, trees would have been cut down, otherwise save the land. So I mean that's the a very natural development to the point, right? It's not something you really have to struggle with coming to like deducing or inferring. So mention that point and then the logical and natural development of that point, and you're good to go. The level descriptors, no credible content, obviously 0 marks, 1 mark if you show some awareness. So you've given 1 point, right, and some development. Again, basically these marks are how many points you've mentioned and how well you've mentioned them, right? 2 to 3 marks generally relevant perspective offered, some attempt to support or develop, right? And question marks 4 to 5 of level 3, consistent and relevant perspective offered, ideas are developed and supported. As you can see over here, right? One thing I want to point out, for example, if you've given 5 points, 5 valid points, right, for the perspective, but you haven't developed them properly, then perhaps you'll get 3 marks. Keep that in mind, right? Just uh, offering the 5 points relevant to the perspective are not going to be enough, because Cambridge expects the candidates to develop on those points and give reasoning. So if that reasoning is not given, then despite giving 5 points, you may not get all the 5 marks. So keep that in mind. All right. And that is the end of the marking scheme for the reading paper, right? That's paper 1 from 2024. And again, keep in mind, right, the purpose was not to discuss the questions themselves, but to understand what Cambridge expects of the candidates, and thereby the candidates understanding how to attempt the questions, right? What kind of answers. I'll be posting a video uh, going over the question paper itself, discussing how the questions, how the paper should be attempted, how it should be approached. Again, not focusing on what the answer should be, but how the candidate should uh, approach the question and try to find the answer. So it will be a general guideline, not specific to the 2024 specimen paper, but to any comprehension or summary, or for paper 2, that's the writing paper that the student will be attempting, right? And also I'll be going over the marking scheme for paper 2, that's the writing paper. So stay tuned for that, it's coming soon. And I hope this video was helpful. So please like, subscribe, and share if you found it useful, and you think it may be useful for others as well, and that will be really helpful for the channel. And I hope to see you again. Right? So have a good day.